Good morning. I am on my way to a client appointment and I'm listening to this really good book by Anne-Laure Cunff. I think that's how you say her name. It's called Tiny Experiments and I'm really enjoying it because it's giving language to a lot of the things that I've already been experiencing and thinking through and wanting to implement in my life, as well as reminding me of things that I knew long ago. Like, she talks a lot about metacognition in here. She talks about, imperfect action and a bunch of things that I really enjoy. And today's chapter that I read was called, I think, Intentional Imperfection. And I really enjoyed that because you guys know that, or maybe you don't, that I am a recovering perfectionist. And a lot of the topics she discussed in that chapter have really been the antidote to releasing perfectionism on so many different levels. And one of the things she talked about is kind of choosing your priorities for the moment and being okay with being present in that moment and allowing other things, that are not whatever that is, to be essentially imperfect in that moment. So, what that brought to me and how I related it to my life overall, which they're not exactly related, but again, what it brought home for me is just how this recent transition has forced me, and I won't even say just the recent transition, the whole time I've been in real estate, really, but even more so in this recent transition, it has forced me to really clarify my values and anchor into them. And further than clarifying the values, to actually look at various parts of my life and see where things are not congruent with that. And what do I mean? So, one major example, I talked in my last video about kind of slipping into hustle culture a bit temporarily. And that was just because, sometimes when you start something new, you go into a new environment, etc., and you don't already have, you don't know how it's going to be, you naturally kind of just let your mind's original schema take over. So being in a new office and a new setting and, trying a new thing, my automatic setting or my old setting is, hey, we got to be achieving first, we got to be focused, we got to hurry up, we got to hustle, we got to be on go mode. Despite the fact that I had spent a lot of time working out of that, that's what naturally came back to me without prompting and without, taking the time that I've taken recently to really reflect, re-anchor, recalibrate, etc. And in that process of recalibrating, I really had to look at, okay, what are my values? Because, naturally, if you step into a new space, you kind of take on what's around you without filtering it through. So what I took on was like, hey, real estate and making deals is the top priority, and if you're not doing that, then what are you doing, right? And I get that. What I've had to settle into is that's actually not what I stepped into this space for, and it does not align with my actual values. One of my highest values is health and wellness. Like, literally. I mean, I have my moments when I'm like, give me all the cookies and whatnot, but overall, one of my highest values is health and wellness, like holistically, not just like, physical health, but all around. And so the two, the hustle and make these deals and by any means necessary, that was at conflict with this idea of holistic wellness. When I saw myself not eating well for a while, when I saw myself not knowing my normal, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, I even say 6 to 8 because now, I have a little bit of flexibility there, but that's neither here nor there. And especially this point, when I start feeling like, well, do I need caffeine? That was my point of like, okay, no, we need to recenter. This is not to say that people who use caffeine, it's bad, whatever. This is to say, for me, as someone who has given up caffeine and has seen, the benefits of doing so, I quickly recognized that even that thought of, do I need caffeine, was a signal that I needed to recalibrate, because the only reason that Raven would need caffeine is because she's trying to override something about her natural body's rhythm. She's trying to overwork past her natural capacity, or trying to do more than what, you know, would be realistic through my own power, capacity, bandwidth, etc. And again, it brought me back to this place of, okay, you say you value health and wellness, so something's incongruent here. And I think it's easy to write down the values, like sit and think about them and say, these are my values, this is what I govern my life by. Much harder is it to then go and do a life audit and actually make things line up with that. And I think also one of my highest values is integrity. And not just like the integrity that people talk about where it's like, oh, you do the same thing behind closed doors that you would do out in public. But even more so than that, the type of integrity that speaks to congruence and making sure that a thing does what it's actually meant to do. Like that type of integrity is what I truly value. And so applying that to my life, it's like, okay, if I were to continue going down this direction and just let it play out without recalibrating, then not only am I out of integrity, but I'm also not valuing my highest value and actually putting that into action in my life. And so this whole chapter really got me thinking about what it looks like when you have conflicting values or when you have moments that force you to kind of make a decision through the filter of your actual values in life. And that's literally, I could say that's been at least one of the heavy themes of this recent transition, but even more so overall in real estate. Like every moment and every decision, maybe not every decision, but the general approach and things, like every approach that I've had to consider has forced me back to getting quiet and asking. It started off as like, okay, what do I want? How does this feel? But ultimately, when I look back over and reflect, what was really happening is, does this align with my values, and how does this filter through into the life I'm actually trying to build? And yeah, that whole process is another reason why I had to end, you know, a successful business partnership as well, because it's like, when I'm looking at, does this align with my values, now, you know, I have to make some changes if it doesn't. And that was challenging, but it's a rewarding process to bring things into alignment, because then you're not, that dissonance that you feel between the two, like when you're like, I know that this is what I say I value, but this is what's really going on, you know, that type of thing. That dissonance can disappear when you bring things into alignment. Now, here's the part. Like, I did not necessarily expect the actual transition portion of it. I mean, I'll probably talk about this in another video journal or something, but like, you know, I'm definitely committed to putting things in alignment in my life and making sure they're congruent. What I did not expect was just how much of a transition that would actually be. Like, I don't know, maybe it was the perfectionist in me, but I just thought, you know, you put things in place today and then tomorrow they just keep going, like, you know, like nothing ever happens. But that's really not how life goes. Like, but either way, I am enjoying this process of learning and creating, you know, learning more things about myself, and also actively creating my life from those learnings and actively tweaking my life from those learnings. And yeah, it's fun, it's challenging, heavy on the challenging, but it's definitely worthwhile to me too, because it's no longer just about the end goal for me. It's really like the process matters to me. The journey matters to me. I mean, I said the word journey like a million times in my last video journal, but like literally, it's no longer about like what's the fastest and most efficient way I can get to this mountaintop. I mean, yeah, I want to be efficient and, you know, move as quickly as is necessary and makes sense, but not at the expense of the things that are most important to me, and not at the expense of the actual journey I want to take to get there. And so even that is forcing me to, you know, make decisions in a different kind of way as well. And so I slower if it means moving in integrity. And again, I don't say integrity in the sense of like, oh, you know, something shady going on behind the scenes. I say it more so in integrity with my highest values, and in integrity with my body's rhythms, and in integrity with what makes most sense for myself in my life. So that's what I had from that reflection. This book is really, really good. I love like the direction. She's just speaking my language, really, like, you know, and it's really cool. I'm listening to it on audio. She has an accent too, so I mean, of course, I'm enjoying that part. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be back with some other reflections that come from it. But yeah, that was really good this morning, and going through this process has really freed me up to be further ambitious in a different way. Like when I initially started it and started wanting to clarify my values and think about what's most important, it felt like, well, dang, like, is there room for me to actually like have big goals and want to do things? But I feel like clearing this space and putting things in line is really helping to give space for a cleaner version of ambition that doesn't lead to burnout, that doesn't lead to a lot of other things that I've experienced, and doesn't lead, it's sustainable. How about that? That's the word. That's the word she used, and that's the word that I love to use too. Sustainable, long term. This time around, like, I don't want to sprint everywhere forever. Like, what is it that Nipsey Hussle said? Like, the marathon continues. I mean, if life and this journey is a marathon, then I really have to be mindful of how I'm running it. And so anyway, I'm kind of rambling now, and I think I'm almost to my appointment, and I need to use my GPS. So I'm gonna wrap this up or whatever. But I hope if you watch this, I hope you have a lovely day and a